a curtain aside. Ba, 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 ba.
It's almost sine wavy with a little bit of a clip to it to give a little percussiveness, but it's a very clear tone.
I worked on a game where we tried everything to do our version of that, and it's really hard.
Function is transition. I want to go from here to there. If you go really consonant and very catchy, where you can walk down the hall singing it, that's too high. That might be too much of a reward. So I want to give you a little bit of something that feels like it's in the pocket of a musical motif. We want to tease and engulf that gamer into keep going forward.
That's like a 10-second long clip. That is an eternity in games. The camera lusts over this box.
Build it up,
and spins around.
build it up.
It gives all the time that's needed.
Build it up, pause.
To be able to create that level of anticipation.
And then the payoff.
And you got a map.
You know, it's short and sweet. It's definitely sort of a Pavlovian response when you hear it.
Paying homage to the old Zelda, but using a little more modern sounds.
Often creating something that's very short is much harder than creating something long and having it tell a story. That level of subtlety in sound choice at Blizzard would be completely tested internally in an alpha stage.
Sometimes you have to pull from sounds that you purchase and license from some people, and then you record stuff as well. Combine those together to create new, interesting sounds.
Let's go with a little medical, but let's modernize it. Let's go a little tech, a little sci-fi with it.
If the heel went on for 5 seconds, or it went on for 10 seconds, or it went on for 20 seconds, looping was a great way to do that. Voop, 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 voop. When it stops, stop the sound, and then play the decay of it. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, a game that I had the fortunate privilege to work on.
It's kind of hyper reality. From your perspective, it may not sound that way, but maybe if you put a mic at the bottom of the wheels.
In my backyard, I had concrete, I had stone, I had brick, and I don't know how to skateboard. I fell off the skateboard literally hundreds of times. I still have the scar. I don't know if you can see that right there. And so when you fall off the board and you hear that, that's me actually falling off the board.
When you record VO for a game, you'll almost always need to localize that VO into other languages. So it's eFigs, English, French, Italian, German, Spanish.
The advantages of creating fake languages, anybody in the world can play it.
They only have to record this in one language.
It definitely has a structure. It seems like it has grammatical rules, a cadence to it, the tone, the inflection. Definitely an iconic choice.
Jay Wineland, I believe, made that sound, if I'm not mistaken, from Bungie.
Halo brought it to the next level, not only for video games and the way that artificial intelligence reacted within a game, but also from sound and music as well.
What expresses really well is that moment of danger with its cadence.
The integration and the implementation, and they did different pitch variations and different volume variations. They knew how important sound design was.
This is a power-up sound.
I still think it's really cool. Those sweeps that do that pitch over time. I don't want to say it's cliche now, but
it was of an age when you turned a computer on or a synthesizer and it went through this long, complicated startup.
I think the taser was like probably my favorite sound in that game. You tase somebody and they go, ugh! Like it was the reactionary portion of that I think was really cool. Power, it has energy.
Occupies a lot of the low end. That came from Glenn Stafford, and then Brian Farr added the actual magical sound design to it all.
Feels like it's maybe neutral to whatever race levels up. It's not something that that a druid would make or a shaman would make. It sits on its own level of aesthetic within WoW itself.
Valve, wonderful company. Love the sound team. They're really, really imaginative.
It's so right and it's so soft on the ears, but it just gives you that level of power. There's probably some sort of element of chorusing, which is essentially a modulation effect that's time-based.
You know, they do a character named Gladys. We were such fans of that on Pacific Rim, Gypsy, we based it off of Gladys. And that's interesting how film is not paying homage to video games, to the sound of a video game. So my guess is one of two things. Slowed down animal.
A moose or a crocodile.
Or it's a slowed down vocal.
It sounds almost like you're trying to have a human voice emulate a whale.
When it comes to punches, the important thing is the randomization.
2 pieces of wood. Whack. I take a belt, snap it.
A flat bat, whack the crap out of like a hanging rug.
Or a whip and hit something. You get that kind of crack.
Watermelon, bash the shit out of it like with a hammer.
To get the whoosh in, I actually shot arrows into a turkey.
Get bones and crack them.
And then I took a mallet in a frozen turkey and hit it.
To replicate the blood and the flesh.
It's not unusual for us to either go with a sound or to put 6 or 7 sounds together to make up one punch. This is one of my favorites. I've heard it's like some guy just going, oh, I got some vocals I'll do, and they just nailed it.
Their personalities overlap as little as possible so they can stand out on their own.
Sometimes you just want to take one note and just give it a little tremolation in the right place. That's all you need.
That's a sound of a klaxon that's been recorded or an alarm that's been recorded.
But it's not a klaxon. And that's what's great about it, is that it feels like something you've heard, but at the same time it's something different.
Definitely spells impending doom, and you learn to count how many of those whip things happen every time. It's terrible.
To me, the most important sound in a video game is the footstep sound.
In the case of a game like Dragon Age, it's what connects you to the earth. There could be rock, there could be wood, there could be grass, there could be stone, carpet, there could be water, there could be flesh, there could be bone.
Not only do you have to think about the surface, maybe you're in army boots, maybe you're in sneakers, maybe you're in high heels.
Building that level of believability into it that leads to 8 or 10 variations.
Anything that becomes repetitive, no matter how good it is, you just go, oh God, now it becomes torture.
If I'm walking over grass, every now and then, oh, I broke a twig.
And part of the strategy is not to be seen and heard. You hear footsteps, that means an enemy is coming at you, and you have seconds to react. Audio is no longer post-production. You know, the sound on Minecraft is simple.
What an amazing game, because it makes you use your imagination in so many different ways.
When you look at Minecraft, it should never have been made.
In modern video games, there are so many sounds.
Everything has a sound, unless you don't want it to.
Within inside a video game, it's what's called an audio engine.
1,000, 2,000 sound effects.
So there's software that the sound designer uses to put all of these sounds in different banks.
It's not unusual for a gun to have 20, 40, 50 sounds.
When you're in a driving game and you hear your engine sound, and then you go into a tunnel, all of a sudden the sound changes.
1,000 to 3,000 lines of dialogue. It's big, it's huge.
What we're doing as sound designers is saying, if you're in that tunnel, then I'm going to assign this tunnel reverb, and it's going to do it in real time on the fly. Very cool.
In the strategy in esports, if it doesn't serve a purpose, it shouldn't be there.
Low frequencies, they get lost in everything else. So you need something that pierces through.
I watched The International a few years ago. Commentators pointed out they turned down the sound for Roshan.
Sound becomes a tactical information tool. You have your eyes, now you have your ears. So you can create rhythms, but a lot of times esports are very focused on accomplishing the task and not dying.
Well, that's the Murloc vocalization. It was made by Tracy Bush.
That sound was accomplished by Tracy gargling yogurt.
Probably the most famous sound to come out of Blizzard Entertainment, as far as I'm concerned.
I remember one time I didn't believe him at our company Christmas party.
It was intended to be a placeholder sound. It took our audience to tell us that that was the right sound.
And so he just gets a glass of water and goes, oh! Like, it was like spot on. People clapped and I was shut up. It's pretty cool.
I've worked on, I think, Gears of War 2, 3, and a whole bunch of variations. To record a gun, you can play it back at the volume you normally hear it.
Of course, there's thousands of different styles of guns.
There are many things. There's animals we use. We pop a tube.
If it's a gun where it shoots out the casing, well, you grab casings and you drop them on the ground.
One of the things that I notice is when the NASCARs go by you, they actually sound like lasers. So I've taken those and put them on guns. So you listen and you build, and that's sculpting.
Now we have to enhance it. Now we have to Hollywoodize the sound.
It's not real. You just think it is.
I love the sound of those guns.
There was definitely a philosophy in the design of Overwatch, which we called play by sound.
When you're getting towards the end, there's a beep that enforces you that you're about to run out of ammo.
You should be able to close your eyes and know exactly what's around you, how close danger is, where your teammates are.
Someone's to my right, I hear it on the right speaker, I'm flipping to the right.
I mean, there are people who are legally blind who are playing the game and playing it successfully.
First of all, they rent and record hundreds of cars.
So what we do in games, we attach the pitch right to the RPM.
Tires off, you put it up, 1,000 RPM, 1,500 RPM, 2,000, and you remote control it.
So if a certain car is redlining at 9,000 RPMs, I need to decide what note value is 9,000 RPMs.
We'll record the muffler, we'll record the intake valve. We have mics, and the ways of being able to get rid of the wind is our science. And we've got mics under the hood, and it's doing what they call granular slicing. It's taking little bits of each little cylinder and rearranging them. It's not Hollywood, it's a simulator.
Cool. You ever sit on a sandbag for 2 hours?
It's never been a better time to be a sound designer in a way.
The complexity that goes into games are no longer simple.
But there's one piece of advice I can give a starting sound designer. Record everything you can.
It takes months, if not a year, to do the sound for a game.
The best sound for something could be just at a moment's notice, you have to be ready.